jokes from Tamsin and Jude, two complete aardvark nutters who live in Tunbridge Wells. Here's another one of their jokes, which you might just like, but then again you might not. What do you call an aardvark who's been made into wax? Madam Too's aardvark. All right then, thank you two. Jacko and Becky from Grange Hill are my special guests, coming up after Newsround Extra with Paul Welsh.
Battle of the Video Giants, the quest for world domination. Join us on a journey into the future as we reveal the next generation of video games.
Ouch! Do you mind? You got to dodge these.
Lewis is 4 years old. He's got video games sussed even though he can't yet read the instructions. He's one of millions of children in Britain who are mad about games. It's a phenomenon that's taken even the experts by surprise. Children now spend more on games than pop music or films.
I'm down. Going up.
And now the makers are locked in battle too, as games begin to enter a whole new level. No one could have imagined it would come to this when Tomorrow's World featured one of the very first games 20 years ago. Then they called it a video games simulator.
Here's a brand new idea from the United States which can turn your television set into a game that two can play.
Pong was black and white only, simply two bats and a square ball. But it gave millions of people hours of enjoyment.
Fall in love.
Space Invaders in the late 1970s was another milestone, the first real arcade game. It caused such a sensation that some countries had to make extra coins because so many were being put into the mind-blowing new machines. Now we're spoilt for choice. The business is worth a staggering £750 million a year in this country alone, and the industry is dominated by two video games giants, Nintendo and Sega. The government's Monopolies Commission have just begun an inquiry to see if the two companies have such a hold that they're keeping prices deliberately high. Sonic the Hedgehog and Sega are the leaders in Britain. Their Mega Drive alone is in over 1 million homes. But worldwide, it's Nintendo who are on top in the battle of the giants. Nintendo's Mike Hayes says you ain't seen nothing yet.
Video games is the first real interactive audio-visual entertainment, and we're just seeing the tip of an iceberg. And I think you'll see an increase in the interactive entertainment that comes into the home and elsewhere over the next 10 years. And it's going to be really exciting for us.
For Mario and Sonic, the competition's about to heat up. At the moment, they're confined to what are called 16-bit machines, which means their graphics can't get much better. But much more powerful consoles from competitors hit the market in a few months' time. Out this spring and twice as powerful, the 32-bit 3DO, followed soon after by Atari's 64-bit Jaguar. This is one of the high-tech trials which help to shape the games of the future. Sega and Nintendo both test out their new ideas on small groups like this, trying to keep one step ahead of their rivals in the race for bigger, better games. The experimental chips on this circuit board are Sonic 3. It's never been seen on TV before. It's due out later this year. And Sega reckon groundbreaking technology has gone into Virtua Racing. That's also almost ready for release. But it's what the players think that counts.
Do you like two-player games better than one-player games?
Yeah.
You do. What was that?
It's because if it's like two players simultaneous, it's easier, and you get people to help you.
Do you think the sounds for the crashes, is it realistic?
Yeah, it's realistic, and after a while, when you play the game, and you hear the sound of the cars, it's also It's a bit irritating.
For the game's players, this is a dream come true, the chance to try out the latest games. But for the makers, it's deadly serious. In the battle of the video giants, it's what the players want next that's important. And for most, that's ever more realistic action.
It would be like Mortal Kombat, when you grab off their head and stuff, you can see all the blood pouring out.
You're the character in the game, and if you move your arm, the character on the screen will move their arm, and you can like pretend to punch people, and the character will do that for you.
The perfect game would be one where it's actual real people moving, and to make the character move, you actually move yourself.
Labs all over the world are working on what are top-secret machines, and Sega's Ed Volkvine says some of what he can't talk about blows his mind.
And I like to refer to it as a sweaty palm syndrome, where I can pick up a hand controller and within 30 seconds into the experience, I feel like I am flying that plane. My hands get sweaty, and that's the level of excitement.
You might think I've gone completely mad, but I haven't. I'm playing with a piece of equipment that's just being developed. The activator is a controller you stand in instead of holding. When you kick or punch, you break an invisible beam of light. The controller turns your movements into actions on the screen in specially written games. American children will get the activator later this year, but there are no plans yet to release it in Britain.
It's like being there.
Sega have made adverts ready for the launch of home virtual reality, though. VR headsets should hit the streets here by Christmas. In arcade versions of virtual reality, you can climb into the same game as your friends. Nick Clarkson of Ocean says that'll soon happen at home, and the possibilities are enormous.
You'd be able to plug into a game through a satellite system and join other players who are in maybe other parts of the country, somewhere around the globe, and all join in one particular game, whether it be like a football game, so there's 22 people on the pitch all playing at once. It should really happen soon.
Now, Silicon Graphics, who made the computers that drew Jurassic Park's dinosaurs, have teamed up with Nintendo. They're making a powerful 64-bit machine for 1995. They're calling it Project Reality. It'll produce virtual reality worlds like this. Greg Estes says these are groundbreaking, state-of-the-art graphics.
What we can do is to exist in this virtual world and use this for a lot of purposes. I could stop here and look around and see the Nintendo gas station. If I want to look left, I can look there, and I see Mario there and the other Nintendo characters, and I can travel around this Nintendo town. Now I can obey the traffic rules or not. I'm driving on the American side of the street, of course. I'll drive over here for the benefit of your viewers. But see,
disc brakes. And everything here is interactive. I don't have to stay on the road if I want. I can do whatever I want. As a matter of fact, I could go out here and go on the grass and again look around, or perhaps maybe instead of drive. And now all of a sudden, I'm up through the clouds and into the trees.
They've made up an area of almost 40 square miles. The computer power used is enormous, but they reckon we'll get a world this good at home 4 years from now, with something close in 2. They're already thinking of how to make a game here.
some things I can fly through and other things I can't. This makes games more interesting. I could fly through a tree, as I just did there, but obviously in the real world I might be able to fly through a tree, but I couldn't fly through a building. So if I take a look at a building like this one, if I run, stop.
I can back as I can't do in a real plane.
For the moment, best-selling games are being made like Stone Age graphics. The Flintstones from Ocean will come out alongside the film in the summer. Fred's being drawn dot by dot. When they're shrunk, they'll match the tiny dots on your TV screen. The designers use pictures from the film to make the game as much like the movie as possible, but it's still just drawings, and they know games players are demanding more. Fred can run as fast as he likes. Technology's leaving him behind fast. Real people are now beginning to appear in games, but games like these push today's machines to the limit, and designers like Steve Clark of Virgin Games can only offer you multiple choices. There's almost no control over characters, and you can only move along routes laid out by the game's writer. But they reckon things will change quickly.
the technology should be available for actually doing that kind of thing in the next 2 to 3 years. But from a design point of view, we're actually hoping that we can get some way towards that between now and then. In fact, we're also working with Hollywood screenplay writers so that we get in right at the beginning of movie making, and so that there will in fact be interactive versions of many of the movies that we made through 1995, 1996.
Sylvester Stallone's film Demolition Man is being turned into a video game at the moment. The stars have been filmed for it against green backgrounds. Special effects replace the green with the graphic backgrounds the game makers have drawn. But the movement is still limited to what's being filmed. At the BBC's graphics department, we found a sign of what might well be the future for gaming. Three-dimensional figures you can control. They call this a wireframe model. The computer remembers the points where the lines meet, then it can make the wireframe man move. With more work, they can make him look solid. But could they model and control a real person? Photographing my head from all angles, we set out to explore the possibility of making the perfect game. 3D people in 3D worlds. Today, Joe's trying to model me. In a few years, it could be Hollywood stars. Arnold Schwarzenegger or Madonna might be under your complete control. Making them would probably begin the same way.
First of all, we have to actually model the shape of the person. So, like here, you can see the head that we have. And then we have to actually create an image to map onto that head. So, from photographs, you can actually create something like this, as if you were looking right round the head all at one time. The picture is actually on that cylinder and projected onto the head so that it matches the shape of the head properly, and the nose goes in the right place and the eyes go in the right place. It's good fun.
At the moment, it takes all the power of state-of-the-art computers to move a 3D person around, and controlling them isn't easy. But a few years ago, this was impossible, and computers are moving at breakneck speed. The race is on to produce machines with the power to move people and backgrounds together. It's only a matter of time. One day, we may not be able to tell where virtual reality ends and real reality begins. With the games makers fighting for control of a fast-moving and fast-growing business, we can only begin to imagine where the next half-century may take us.